So good morning to everyone. It's 9:30, so I will get us started here. So thank you to all members for attending what is now our second virtual annual general meeting. And while we've all utilized online meeting services for over a year now, with great regularity, I do want to ask for your patience as we work through any issues. Our team will tabulate the votes and deal with any background issues on the tactical end. We'll work hard to minimize any of these issues, but we all know that sometimes technology has a mind of its own. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that the Nnpbc offices are located on the territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Tsilt nations. I'd like to also acknowledge that each of us is joining from our own region, and we recognize all of the traditional territories on which members of our nursing profession live, work, and play. We are humbled and grateful for the opportunity to live, work, and play here. It is also important, and we'd like to acknowledge the 215 children and more recently the 751 that were located in Saskatchewan, and to all of the victims of the residential school system. We say unequivocally, every child matters. We renew our commitment to ensuring that nursing continues to learn from the experiences of the Indigenous peoples, and we acknowledge that we must do better. I'd now like to welcome Aline Laflamme, Métis Elder, to provide us with a welcome and a blessing.
Welcome to this annual general meeting. I'm very honored to be with you nurses again. It's a very good feeling. I wish you an excellent meeting. And as is our way, I'd like to offer an opening prayer. And pray along with me if you like. Pray in your own way if that's better, or just hold a good intention if prayer is not for you. Okay. Masi notse gomogota, masi. Thank you, grandmothers and grandfathers, great spirit, great mystery of life and good creator of all things in this universe where we find ourselves. We ask for a good blessing on each heartbeat here in the circle today. We give thanks that we have beautiful, clean air and help us to keep it clean. We give thanks that we have clean water, so essential to our lives. Help each one of us to do our part to keep the water clean. We give thanks for the beautiful grandfather sun giving us light. Help us to use the light to see where we are and where we're going, and help us to use the light to look around and see who's in front of us. We're always looking at a relative. Help us to see whoever's in front of us is a relative, and help us to remember to treat our relatives in a good, kind, soft, gentle way. All our relatives, of the four-legged kind and the winged ones, the ones that live in the water, the ones that crawl in and on the earth, the rooted ones, the mineral ones, and all two-legged kind are all our relatives. Help us to remember this simple teaching. We give thanks today as well for this beautiful Mother Earth, for feeding and sheltering and clothing and caring for us in a good way. And we pray for all those blessings to be extended and shared to any that are doing without. So for our relatives that are homeless, living on the streets, or hungry, or in drought or war zone, or wherever they may be, we ask a good blessing for each one of them. We ask a blessing on all our chiefs and all our world leaders, including our leaders here, to have many good blessings, that they conduct themselves in a good way, to lift up this generation and the generations yet to come. Bless each heartbeat here in this meeting. All good work will come in harmony and cooperation to move forward in a good way with the health for all of us. We give thanks for all the territories where we are, including here the Squamish Nation, the Musqueam Nation, the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, where I am, and the territories where each and every one is. I'm in unceded traditional territory, and I give thanks for my relatives for letting me live my life and conduct my ceremonies here. Great blessings on your meeting. Nasi Cho, all my relations.
Thank you, Alin. I truly appreciate how you helped set the tone for our meeting and make sure that we're starting off from a very centered and grounded place and giving thank you. So thank you. I will now call our meeting to order. So the annual general meeting of the Association of Nurses and Nurse Practitioners of BC is now in session. My name is Sherry Kensel, and as the chair of the board of directors for Nnpbc, it is my pleasure to serve as the chair for this annual general meeting. During this meeting, in order to vote, move motions, speak to motions, or to debate the motion during the business meeting, you must be a regular member of the association. Regular voting members were advised that in order to vote, they would need to register by June 18th at 5 p.m. And that was in the notice of the meeting. Motions will be voted on using the tools found within this Zoom meeting. You'll be instructed on your screen about how to answer a poll or a vote. And note, you may experience minor delays during this process as we register, verify, and count all votes. Again, we ask for your patience and remind you that you must be a regular member of the association to vote. So that means if you're a student, a retired nurse, or a non-nurse guest, you're not eligible to vote. Everyone present will have the opportunity to send questions to us during the open forum, which will be read out. Some of you have sent questions in advance, and I thank you for that, and we will read those questions first. And please note, you'll find our annual report and all materials for this AGM, including the agenda, the standing rooms rules, and the financials, posted under the AGM section of our website. You'll find that under the materials page. And finally, I want to thank the board, the councils, Venue West, and our auditors and legal team, and our Nnpbc staff for your preparation for today's AGM. Thank you again, each and every one of you, for taking the time to demonstrate your interest in and your support for the work the association is doing on your behalf. I am so pleased that you're joining us to listen to the happenings of the year that was 2020, and what a year it was. We have all seen the irony of the World Health Organization declaring 2020 the year of the nurse and the midwife, and then experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic and the toxic drug supply crisis. I'm sure dual public health crises were not what they had in mind. Regardless, as nurses, we have risen to the occasion across the province in this unprecedented year. It has been nurses from all nursing designations at the forefront of ensuring that these two health emergencies and the distressing link between them are managed through harm reduction initiatives. Many nurse-led initiatives have helped us combat the deadly toll the toxic drug supply has taken and supporting individuals at risk while we're also focusing on managing and stopping the spread of COVID-19 and now providing mass immunizations for our entire province. Nurses are the largest healthcare workforce in the world, and most certainly in this province. And in the year of the nurse and midwife, we are reminded daily of your dedication and sacrifice. On a personal level, I was reminded of the critical role that nurses play in our healthcare system and was proud to be able to provide direct care. I've watched my colleagues as they kept going to work, even when they were scared for themselves and for their families. I saw the bravery and the selfless dedication to the health of British Columbians that presented itself in working long hours, often understaffed and under-resourced. I saw many of my colleagues pivot to completely different roles as the population needs changed. Many switched to virtual technologies wherever possible, whether that was in clinical care, education, and even in research. It has been awe-inspiring to see how nurses were able to adapt as we answered the call to action. And as a fellow nurse, I am deeply proud of our profession, and I'm honored to be your colleague. We'll hear more from Michael Sandler, our Executive Director, a bit later on in the meeting, as he highlights the work the association undertook in 2020 in supporting nurses in this province. At this time, I'm pleased to present those who were at our virtual head table. I'd like to welcome our legal advisor, Sarah Fitzpatrick of Miller Thompson LLP. And if you could just, thanks. And next I have Michael Sandler, our Executive Director at Nurses and Nurse Practitioners of BC. And next, Elaine Leflamme, who is the Métis Elder, and Elaine welcomed us earlier on. We also have some special guests who have joined us from the BC College of Nurses and Midwives, the Canadian Nurse Protective Society, the Nursing Policy Secretariat, the BC Midwives Association, and representation from BC's Chief Nursing Officers. I want to thank each of you for attending, and although given our virtual meeting I can't see you, I do want to acknowledge you've taken the time to be here with us today. We appreciate your ongoing collaboration and value our relationships with you all. If there's anyone I've inadvertently missed, please accept my apologies, but also accept my appreciation for you being here today. Thank you. I would especially like to welcome each of our members who is at the heart of the work that all we do. I'd also like to acknowledge our board of directors, our counselors, our staff, and other observers who have joined us today. And in case you're wondering, it is our Nnpbc board of directors who have joined us on this session through video. So you can see their faces and attach names to faces during this AGM. At this time, I'd like to take a few moments of silence in honor of those members of our association who have passed away during this past year. This year has been a difficult one to enable us to participate in any formal services, and I appreciate the opportunity to share some silence in their honor with all of you today. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that time. Without objection, as your chair, I'm pleased to make the following appointments to serve this AGM. As Credentials Chair, we have Lori Campbell. And as scrutineers and counters, we have members of our staff team and our service provider, who is Venue West, who are monitoring the electronic voting and ensuring compliance. Next, we'll move to confirmation of the notice of this annual general meeting. Part 3 of our bylaws require that the membership be given not less than 14 days written notice of a general meeting. This has been done. This year's notice was sent out on June 9th, 2021, and was posted on our website the same day. Next, we move to establishment of quorum. And can I confirm with you, Lori, that we have quorum?
We definitely have quorum. We have 57 active voting members with us today.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And thank you to each of us who are attending, each of you who are attending today. The next item of business is the report of the Credentials Committee. Oh, sorry, we've done that. Sorry. Our Credentials Chair, Lori, advises me that we have the credentials of how many, Lori? Is that the 57?
57.
Perfect. So we have 57 members of the Association of Nurses and Nurses Practitioners of BC, and it looks like we have a total of 66 participants on the meeting, so thank you. Then next we go to the meeting standing rules, and it's my pleasure to read these rules to you. For your convenience, these rules are also posted on the website on the AGM section on the materials page. The following standing rules are designed to facilitate progress at the meeting of the nurses and nurse practitioners of BC, to include members in orderly discussion, and to ensure courtesy, fairness, and equity for all. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Societies Act, the Constitution, and the bylaws of the Association, and Sturgis Standard Code of Parliamentary Rules. This annual general meeting is for the purpose of discussing the business of the association. Issues of a personal nature will not be debated or considered. All speakers will practice fairness and courteous, respectful communication at all times. Members who wish to speak will be able to type their questions, and these will be read out for answering. Only one item, the immediately pending agenda item, and/or the matter under discussion will be considered at a time. Comments or questions must be related to the pending motion or report. In the case of this virtual meeting, your comments will be completed in writing using the chat box feature of this Zoom meeting. These will be read out and answered by the most appropriate party. Although everyone may comment or speak or type twice on the same motion on the same day, someone who has not yet commented on it someone who has not yet commented on it even once has preference over someone who's already commented on it. And points made by one individual shall not be repeated by another. So I will now entertain a motion that the meeting standing rules as provided be adopted. Can we have a motion? So we so move that the meeting standard rules as provided be adopted, and if you can vote for each, whether you were in favor or opposed. Okay. Could I get one of the board members to make the official motion that we adopt the standing rules as provided?
I can make that motion, Sherry. It's Karen Sims.
Okay, Karen has motioned. Can we have a seconder?
I can second Jessica Gutierrez.
Thanks, Jessica. And then the vote. And all are in favor. Any further discussion? Perfect. So these standing rules are adopted. Next, we move to approval of the agenda. The agenda for the meeting is provided in the AGM section of the website on the materials page and is also on the screen in the PowerPoint presentation you see here. The order of business at this meeting will follow the business set out in the agenda. Can I ask that someone make a motion that we approve this meeting agenda?
I can make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Jag.
I can second, Ronnie.
Ronnie, thank you, Ronnie. And then if we can have everyone vote to approve the agenda. It should be just a few more minutes. Oh, there we go. All right, all are in favor. Great, thank you. Great. The next business in order is the approval of the minutes from the 2020 Nnpbc Agm. These minutes are posted on the AGM section of the website on the materials page. Are there any corrections to these minutes? All right. Seeing no corrections, these minutes will be approved. Approved as presented. Thank you. Next, we move to the announcement of elected councillors and appointed directors. Elections were held online prior to this AGM from May 25th to June 18th, during which time 3 reminders were sent to our members. NNP uses an external Canadian-based agency to conduct our elections called Simple Survey. Nnpbc has no knowledge of the results until the elections close. Simply Survey is a proven, secure online voting platform owned, developed, hosted, and supported in Canada. Software servers and survey response data hosted only in Canada in secure data centers owned and operated by Microsoft Canada with SOTC and ISO/IEC 27001 certifications. Encrypted data transmission with SSL certificate, also encrypted database and backups, voter anonymity, personal and unique ballot is assigned to each voter that can only be completed once. With that, it gives me great pleasure to read to you the announcement of our newly elected councillors, and these are for all nursing councils, and to our board of directors. So elected to the LPN Council, we have Teresa McFadyen, our Island Councillor, Sandra Ogloff, our Councillor at Large, and Michelle Zalameda, Vancouver Councillor. Elected to the Nurse Practitioner Council, we have Sarah Adair, Island Councillor, Jan Bazin, Fraser Councillor, Rebecca Irving, Northern Councillor, Tracy Payne, Rural and Remote Councillor, Tara Reese, Indigenous Councillor, Sydney Robert Richardson Carr, Interior Councillor, and Parveen Sangha, Vancouver Councillor. Elected to our RN Council, we have Erin Ellis, Island Councillor, Mary Curvin, Interior Councillor, Leona Smith, Indigenous Councillor, Megan Thuma, CNS Councillor, and Carla Tilley, Education Councillor. And elected to our RPN Council, we have Tess Croker, Council at Large, Nita Nagra, Vancouver Councillor, and Heather Owens, Interior Councillor. Congratulations to all of you, and I thank you for your leadership in stepping forward for these positions. Next, I would like to introduce the appointments to the councils to the Board of Directors for 2021-22. We have Lori Campbell, Board Vice Chair, RN Council Vice President, myself, Board Chair and RN Council President, Tess Croker, RPN Councillor at Large, Nnpbc Board Member. We have Teresa McFadyen, LPN Island Councillor and Nnpbc Board Member, Nita Nagra, RPN Council President, Vancouver Councillor and Nnpbc Board Member, Becky Palmer, CNO Director, Nnpbc Board Member, Tara Reese, NP Indigenous Councillor and Indigenous Director and Nnpbc Board Member. We have Karen Sins, NP Council President, Nnpbc Board Member, Rani Srivastava, NECBC Director and Nnpbc Board Member, Jag Tak, LPN Council President, Education Councillor and Nnpbc Board Member, and Laura Vickel, NP Council Past President and Nnpbc Board Member. The public and student directors are not established as those nominations are still open at this time. and we will advise our membership once these appointments are made. A press release will be posted on our website listing the new councillors and the board members just after this meeting. I congratulate each of you and welcome to the board. We'd like now to move to the director's report. You'll also find this, our annual report, posted online on the AGM section on the materials page of the website. So Michael Sandler will give us this report.
Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate the introduction. So as with all AGMs, I'm pleased to present to you the Nnpbc Director's Report for the year ending December 31st, 2020. Before I jump into that, though, I just want to take the opportunity to acknowledge and echo Sherry's words from earlier today. Nnpbc stands behind all nurses whose expertise is essential in keeping people safe and helping them get well. And for the work that you do, in particular at the point of care, I thank you. On a personal note, I have been consistently impressed with the commitment and dedication of both the Nnpbc board and council members, as well as our staff team. We are a small team and we work collaboratively to achieve great things. And I want to take the opportunity to highlight the great work that this small team does on behalf of both the board members and membership at large. So for everything that you do to the staff, for everything that you do to the board and the time that you commit to this organization, thank you. In 2020, Nnpbc spent most of the year honing our business operations. We focused on building a membership base and solidifying our strategic partnerships. We embarked on a listening tour to tell us what nurses wanted from us in an organization, and we let them know that it was important to us that we listen and learn from them. We've turned that feedback into programs and services that we feel benefit the profession and will set the stage for our continued growth as an organization as we move into 2021 and 2022. I will begin the framework that we've laid down in these negotiations, or collaborations set out by Nnpbc board in the strategic plan. The plan focuses on work in 4 broad categories. Those categories include advocacy, education and leadership, membership engagement and communications, and of course, business operations. Moving into the first pillar, which is our advocacy pillar. Nnpbc is the link between nurses, policymakers, and government, and provides opportunities to engage in policy development and advocacy across a broad cross-section of stakeholders and partners. Throughout 2020, we worked closely with the following partners: the BC Ministry of Health, the BC Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, the College of Nurses and Midwives, the Canadian Nurse Protective Society, the Canadian Nurses Association, the Nursing Policy Secretariat, the Nursing Education Council of BC, BC's Chief Nursing Officers, Doctors of BC, Midwives Association of BC, BC Care Providers, Safe Care BC, BC's Health Professional Associations, and of course the International Council of Nursing, including the Nursing Now campaign. You see, we worked with a significant number of stakeholders. Our advocacy work encompassed a whole host of areas, but the ones that I would like to highlight include RN and RPN prescribing for safer alternatives to street drugs, the anti-stigma workshops that we've held across multiple jurisdictions and for multiple designations, multiple position statements, significant number of issues briefs. We obviously started our blog. We have the COVID-19 advocacy piece, the overdose crisis advocacy piece, a significant list of government engagement opportunities. We have ongoing discussion with the Nursing Policy Secretariat regarding a new advanced practice nursing position, including the nurse anesthetist, surgical first assist. So there has been some really great work on the advocacy front. Moving into education and leadership pillar, Nnpbc is committed to supporting our ongoing educational opportunities that we provide for all nurses, regardless of membership. Our service and program initiatives for 2020 have included decision support tools, webinars, the ambassador program, the school program, the leadership program, ongoing connections with BC Schools of Nursing. We've sponsored attendance at conferences, research days, education events, even if most of them are hosted via Zoom. We've had a presentation of leadership and advocacy awards and nursing awards, even though they were virtual. I think it went off very well. It looked to me like Sherry should be presenting at the Academy Awards. We provide courses and conference databases. We have practicum opportunities. We provide student services. We have the EHLBC research tools available to our members. And of course, we have opportunities for ongoing nursing research and researchers. That is just a quick snapshot of some of the services that we provide. And obviously, we provide a whole host of other services. And I encourage you to engage with our services if you haven't had the opportunity to review them. Membership and engagement and communication is the next pillar that we have focused on. Nnpbc members are entitled to many of the benefits that we provide and can access any number of Nnpbc programs and services. These programs and services are accessible via our website or through a member of our team. And our communication team works very hard to ensure that member service information about the programs and services is available in a timely fashion and through a variety of channels. Slice of some of the things that we offer include our perks program for nurses, which saves you money on everything that you would use to be a nurse, as well as other fun things. And we'll be able to take a vacation this year, who knows? Nursing job database, we obviously are awards of excellence. We provide monthly updates on a whole host of policy table initiatives, as well as issues in advocacy. We have our social media channels. We have our COVID-19 resources page, which has been well received across multiple stakeholders. We have our overdose crisis resources page, which has been doing well. Mental health and wellness initiatives. We have Nnpbc in the news, meetings and material sheets, campaigns, events, and of course, Meet BC Nurses. Moving into our last pillar, which is the operations pillar, which is the one that I am closest to, obviously. It's me here. We are a nonprofit society, having been established in September 2018 as part of a larger process to ensure the political and standard voice of nursing is heard throughout the province. This year, we established, as I said, COVID-19 protocols for safety plans for both staff and members. We opened a new satellite office in Kelowna. We held our AGM in June of 2020. We hired a new director of membership services, and I would like to take this opportunity to publicly acknowledge the great work that Kim has done at reaching out to our membership and expanding our membership roster. We've hired additional staff, including additional support staff to support our growing membership needs. We've expanded our benefits for employees as well as our members. We've worked with a new HR firm to solidify our HR processes. We've undertaken a complete financial audit. We've completed assignment and assumption with the Licensed Practical Nurses Association of BC, which completed our family of 4 moving into 2021. We provided operational support to the now wrapped up Association of Registered Nurses of BC. We have worked diligently to ensure that relationships with external vendors have been improved or continue. Our IT department has undergone some changes around infrastructure to support the growing membership, and so we continue to try and provide resources for that. We've updated our website to include revisions to meet the increasing usage demands, which is a good thing. We've had an ongoing review of our operational handbooks, policies, and procedures. We've updated them to be in compliance with applicable laws. We've had an ongoing review of our data privacy to ensure that they are in accordance with applicable laws such as FIPA and PIPA. We were established as the 2021 jurisdictional membership provider for the Canadian Nurses Protective Society, which was a foundational piece for our operations plan. And of course, we established and developed a membership model for 2021 to 2023. On top of that, we support obviously the ongoing meetings of both board and council and all of our policy and advocacy groups. And we try and bring staff together in this time of COVID outside of the Zoom environment. I'm really proud of this organization, and I am particularly happy with the opportunity to recognize contributions from each of the 4 nursing designations. I'd like to point out that we're the only organization, the provincial organization in Canada that has managed to get all 4 members to the table. And I think we are in a much better position from an advocacy perspective for our profession, which is nursing, when all 4 designations come to the table and speak as a unified voice. I recognize that the work is varied and it's broad-based, but it always focuses on the needs of each of the designations as it is required to influence the idea of nursing. So it's not just nurses, but nursing. Each of the 4 councils has volunteers, and they have worked diligently to ensure that key issues are surfaced and collective voices are heard. The councils, as you know, have equal representation at the board, and through the board, these issues that they bring up are surfaced and discussed from a nursing perspective, and then as an organization, we have an opportunity to report back to the membership. So I invite you to visit the Nnpbc website, the AGM section, the materials page. You can view the annual report for more information or just to get some more context on any of the things that we've discussed so far today. I encourage members to reach out as to me personally or to a member of the team as we rely on our connection with members to ensure that we continue to move the association and the work that we do forward in a direction that works for you. In closing, I would like to say that I know firsthand the importance of the work the Professional Association does in advancing the reach and impact of nursing. I feel strongly that nurses are well positioned to advance real and systemic change throughout healthcare in BC, and I'm excited for our profession and think there is room to continue our collaboration with our members, the government, and our partners to promote nursing and support public policy that achieves meaningful differences and impacts the lives of all British Columbians. I think one of the things that I've learned from 2020 is that a strong and unified nursing voice is needed now more than ever. So I am once again humbled by the opportunity to be part of this organization and to help move the nursing voice forward for the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And really thank you for the leadership you've provided to our team of staff, especially in this very unsettling past year that we've had. And you've really provided leadership in a way that's really encouraged each staff member to grow in their role and to really kind of do everything that they can do. So thank you for that. And as we look back, it's just incredibly impressive to see what you've been able to accomplish in the past 12 months with the staff. Yeah. The next business in order is the consideration of the financial statements. The audited financial statements are also on the website under the AGM heading on the materials page for your reference. I invite Anita Johnson and Christine Del Rosario from Smith LLP to provide an update on the financial statements and the audit process.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'd like to take you through, and I apologize if the video is lagging a little bit here, but hopefully my voice is clear. I'd like to take you firstly through our independent auditor's report. And this report has 4 sections. The most important probably to every reader is the top section, which is the opinion section. And we have completed our audit and provided a clean audit opinion. And this audit opinion encompasses 4 statements, one of which is the statement of financial position. So that's the snapshot on December 31st, 2020. The statement of operations for the year then ended, the statement of changes in net assets for the year then ended, and the statement of cash flows. And I'll point out that the notes to the financial statements are also an integral part of the financial statements, and those are audited as well. So in our opinion, the statements present fairly in all material respects: the financial position, the results of operations, and the cash flows of the organization. Our audit opinion is provided in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. So we follow those standards in conducting our audit, in planning it, conducting it, and the reporting standards. And we are independent of the association. That is one of the criteria for auditors. The responsibilities of management and those charged with governance are also detailed in our audit report. because it is management who is responsible for the preparation of financial statements in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. And management is also responsible for internal control as deemed necessary for the preparation of the financial statements. And then those charged with governance, being the Audit and Finance Committee and the board of an organization, are responsible for the oversight of the financial reporting process. The second page of the audit report details our responsibilities for the audit, and it's broken down into 5 main sections. So we identify and assess the risk of material misstatement in the financial statements, and we design our audit procedures to address those risks. We do obtain an understanding of internal control, but not for the purpose of reporting on it. So it is taken upon us to review internal control to the extent that it helps us design our audit procedures. We evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies and management's estimates. And we do conclude on the management's assessment of the going concern basis of accounting, which just means that the organization is able to sustain operations in the coming 12 months. And finally, we evaluate the overall presentation structure, content of the financial statements, including the notes, as I mentioned, to make sure that the readers can clearly understand the financial statements. And finally, because the organization was incorporated under the Societies Act of BC, we do report that there is consistency in the accounting principles applied from year to year. And that is our independent auditor's report. And there is the graphic in terms of the financial summary as well. I don't know if someone else was going to go over that, but I can briefly highlight for you a couple of points on that. And I'll just actually open up. So there was an excess of revenues over expenditures for the year of just under 630,000, and that gets added to the net assets that were in existence at the beginning of the year. So the total net asset position of the organization has increased by that amount this year. Net assets at the end of the year are about $982,000. So you can see the various categories there with the pie charts in terms of the expenditures and such.
Great, thank you, Anita. We'll now invite questions from the members on the director's report and the audited financial statements. And just to let you know or remind you, the questions that were pre-sent in ahead of time will be brought forward in the open forum section. So now we're inviting questions specifically around the auditing and the financial statements. I'll respond to any questions around governance, and Michael will respond to any questions focusing on operations. For those watching, if you type your questions into the chat box, our staff member Patty Telfer will read them out loud, including your name. And note, it may take a few seconds for the questions to register in our system. So we ask that for those of you that are watching to be patient as we ensure that these questions have been received properly. Can you explain the job posting as a revenue source? And this question, oh, sorry. I guess I should let you read that, Patty, sorry.
That's okay, Sherry.
Thanks.
I think that we could turn that over to Michael.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for the question. Yes, so we maintain a job posting board at Nnpbc, and employers are invited to post the jobs that they have available in their jurisdiction, region, or employer center, like health authority, and we charge a fee for that, and we include that revenue into the general ledger.
Thank you, Michael. I'll just wait another little bit, see if we have any more questions come forward. I'm not seeing any. So seeing no further questions, these reports will be filed as presented. Thank you. And thank you, Anita and Christine. The next order of business is the appointment of the auditor until the next annual general meeting. So I will ask Nita Nagra. Have we got Nita on now?
Yes. Hi.
Perfect. Right. So I'll ask Nita Nagra, who's the chair of our Nnpbc Finance Committee, to read the motion.
Thanks, Sherry. Hi, everyone. I'm Nita, and I'd just like to acknowledge that I'm calling today off the unceded and traditional Coast Salish territory of the Coquitlam First Nation. And so to ensure that Nnpbc is up to code with the Canadian Accounting Standards for Nonprofit Organization, on behalf of the Finance Committee, it is moved that Smythe LLP be appointed as the auditor for the Association of Nurses and Nurse Practitioners of British Columbia until the next annual general meeting.
And can I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you, Teresa. Is there any discussion around this motion? Okay, so what we will do next is we'll go to a vote, seeing no further discussion. In order to vote on this motion, just note the instructions are appearing on our screen and just follow those prompts. And just a reminder that it may take a few minutes to log all these votes and verify and ensure that we're accurate in our counting. I think this is where we need to input some Jeopardy music. Let's take another minute or so. Okay, we should see it shortly. All in favor, 100%. Thank you. So the affirmative has it and the motion is adopted. Great. Next, we'll move to our open forum. And we have had some members who have submitted questions ahead of time, so we will answer those questions first, just to let you know. The standing rules of the meeting, as previously agreed upon, still apply for this forum. So just as a quick reminder, we'll remind you that the motions that require advance notice are deemed out of order for this meeting. We know that some of you have sent questions in advance, and thank you for that. And we will start those first in the order that they were received, and we'll include your name in that discussion. For those watching, you will use the chat function to send us questions. Please type your questions, and Patty Telford will read them out loud, including your name. As noted previously, it can take a few seconds for the questions to register in our system, so we ask that you be patient as we ensure that these questions are received. We'll begin with those questions sent prior to the meeting. Patty, could you go ahead and read out the first question?
Thanks, Sherry. The first question is from Nora White. What relationship will BC nurses have to the Canadian Nurses Association in the future? And I'll ask Michael to answer that question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Nora, thank you for the question. I think the most honest answer is we don't actually entirely know what the future with CNA will look like. But I think as many of you on this call might already know, CNA made the groundbreaking change to their membership model, single vote, single member, single vote. So the jurisdictional model was no longer. Nnpbc and CNA had the opportunity to connect early on in that conversation and really lay out what our relationship was going to look like as CNA moved to the new single member, single vote model that they were looking to move to. And so our relationship remains very strong, and we are continuing to commit to bilateral engagement on issues that affect not only BC nurses, but nurses across Canada. We are looking to continue to expand on the conversation that we're currently having with CNA around what our engagement strategy and framework could look like moving into 2022. And although I don't really know that outcome of those conversations yet, we're still waiting on a few pieces to be put in place by CNA. It looks like we will continue to have a very close relationship with them moving forward. And we just have to figure out how to align the operational requirements of a single member, single vote with a provincial association. But I am very positive on the fact that we will be able to do that in a timely fashion. So thank you for the question.
Thanks, Michael. The next question is from Linda Anderson Armitage. Could you provide an update on the opioid crisis? Michael?
Thanks for the question, Linda. I think as most people are aware here, we're losing just over 4 people a day to the opioid crisis. We continue down that path with those tragic numbers. So we all know that it requires urgent attention. So what has Nnpbc done to help address this? Some of our key policy pieces around this moving forward were the expansion of the RN and RPN prescribing for safer alternatives to street drugs. We did a significant amount of advocacy work around that to achieve that, and we are seeing the benefits of that now and looking to see if we can expand that even further. We continue to support the ACES Anti-Stigma Zone, the workshops for healthcares led by peers. We have the overdose crisis resources on the webpage. Obviously, you can find the link on the main page to that. We've authored and issued several position statements on improving mental health and wellness, decriminalization, improved access to diacetylmorphine, harm reduction, Bill C-22. We've had a significant number of engagements around how this should unfold. We've also had the opportunity to connect personally with Minister Malcolmson, the minister responsible for mental health and addictions. And we have ongoing dialogue around how the nursing voice and particularly Nnpbc can help to situate the response, the provincial response to the province from a harm reduction lens. And so I'm excited about the opportunity to continue to support that work moving forward. And we, I think, ultimately work closely and in collaboration with our harm reduction colleagues, our mental health and wellness experts, our RPNs, to try and ensure that a cohesive perspective from Nnpbc through the nurses that work at that point of care in that environment is heard loud and clear. And I have been quite positively, I'm very positive on the relationship with the minister and her staff moving forward and how we can impact that conversation.
Thanks, Michael. The next question is from Braden Davey. Please discuss Nnpbc's plan to strengthen the organization's relationship with CNA. Back to you, Michael.
Thanks for the question, Braden. So I answered, I guess, some of this in relation to the first question around Nora's remarks. As we know, CNA is moving away from the jurisdictional model, and it will be our position as Nnpbc to support that new model. And we believe in a strong collaboration between the two organizations, not only to support BC nurses from a federal perspective, but for BC nurses to support other nurses across Canada from a provincial perspective. I think, as previously stated, I have no intention, or we have no intention as an organization directed by the board, to allow the two organizations to become disconnected in any way. But again, exactly what the relationship between the two organizations will look like operationally, there are still a few unanswered questions related to how CNA would like to proceed. So as soon as we have a clearer picture of what that looks like, then we will continue to move forward. But I can tell you this from an operations perspective, me and Michael Villeneuve have a very close relationship. We're in constant communication around ways that the two organizations can move forward on a bilateral approach to certain issues. And I see that relationship continuing moving forward. So I can't give you a specific answer because we don't really know what the operational pieces will look like, except to say we value our relationship with CNA and we look to continue that moving forward.
Great, thanks, Michael. So this is our last question that was submitted prior to the AGM. If anybody has a question for the panel, please type it into the chat. This question is from Kimberly Ann Reed. Please comment on compensation equity between PCN contract and Health Authority NPs. Back over to you, Michael.
Kimberly Ann, this is thank you for the question. It's a good question. So I think the overreaching principle here is it's a bit challenging to compare compensation between the contractor model and the employee model, as they're obviously two different engagement models. I think when you consider an employee model, you have to ensure that you are taking into account all of the ancillary expenses associated with an employee model. So benefits, disability coverage, pensions, paid leaves, overhead, all of those things are generally covered by the employer. For NPs working as contractors, they are responsible for them. And so I think if you were to compare apples to apples and just look at the salary pieces and not the ancillary costs associated, you'd find that they're relatively comparable. Ultimately, I would recommend that if you're looking for more information related to this, that you reach out to a member of the provincial NP services team. They obviously have a nuanced understanding and would be able to provide you with a significant number of resources. I would also direct your attention to the NP portal business resources page, which the team has put a significant amount of work into. I find it to be easy to navigate, and it provides a significant amount of information related to this specific question. If you obviously have any questions and you'd like to reach out to me personally, I would be happy to put you in contact with an individual that could answer those questions for you on a personal basis. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Michael. So opportunity now for anybody that has joined the meeting to ask a question via the chat, and we will have one of our panel members answer it. We'll just give people a couple of minutes to type in their questions if they have any.
Perfect. Thanks, Patty. And while we're waiting that few minutes, I'll just echo Michael's response around our relationship with CNA, and it really does remain to be a strong relationship and a strong partnership. And like he said, CNA is adopting a new, completely membership, new model of membership. And there's still many questions, but we remain at those tables and part of that discussion. So it is important for us. And as Michael, as you're discussing the various initiatives around the opioid crisis, as well, I'll point out a lot of that work was work that was generated at a council level. So each of the councils has been part of that discussion, raising issues, bringing issues forward. Often our staff does a lot of that background work behind, and then they bring a semi-polished report to the councils, and then the councils again weigh in on those pieces of work. So it really is a very much a coordinated effort between our board, councils, and staff. So I appreciate everyone and all the time and energy and thought you put into those various pieces of work.
All right, Sherry, it doesn't look like there's any other questions, so back over to you.
All right. So as there's no further questions, we'll just move to our closing comments. So I was humbled by my election to board chair in 2020, and I have been privileged to work with Nnpbc board of directors, our councillors, our executive director. Pardon? Oh, we got a question?
Yeah, questions are coming.
Oh, excellent. Sorry, pardon me. We will go to the questions then. Will you read them out, Patty? Are you able to hear me?
I think we're just having some connectivity issues.
It looks like it's.
Patty's still having some connection problems. So would it be all right if I read out the questions?
Sure, thank you, Lori.
So Hannah Varto asks, what is the relationship of Nnpbc with the Doctors of BC Association? Is there a proactive or active plan for how Nnpbc will have a stronger, more equal and respected voice within healthcare, both by the media, the public, and the government? I would like to see more advocacy for nurses or NPs making system reforms and being seen as experts on health systems. The system inequalities, which creates barriers to care currently between NPs and physicians, is disgusting and needs to be publicly known that it is really happening.
And there's just a comment that it's a bit hard to hear your voice, Lori, but we can see the question on the screen as well. So,
okay. Michael, I think you can take that one if you'd like.
Thank you, Laurie. So this is a two-part answer. So what is the relationship between Nnpbc with the Doctors of BC? I can say that unequivocally we have a great relationship. I have a bi-weekly meeting with the staff team over at Doctors of BC. We've had the opportunity to publish some joint statements. We will be the first large association of the Doctors of BC publishes a statement with utilizing bylines from both organizations. We haven't had the opportunity to author that first yet, but we have a strong commitment to work collaboratively to do that. There is obviously a significant number of initiatives ongoing at the Docs of BC that have some type of dovetail or engagement with nursing, in particular, obviously, the nurse practitioners. And so we will continue to work collaboratively with the Docs of BC to ensure that we are part of the larger conversation. There's ongoing work in the background around situating Nnpbc at some of the larger tables around shared care, virtual health, policy engagement, etc. And to the second part around making system reforms, absolutely. That is a pillar of our operational plan moving into the next 3 to 5 year cycle. We anticipate the opportunity to continue to situate the nursing voice in a stronger perspective. And to that end, we have developed and forged relationships with the Office of Indigenous Health, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Advanced Education. We have been part of the conversation around estimates, around budget lockup. We are going to be part of the conversation around police reform. You can review the Hansard minutes on healthcare reform, on police reform, etc. So I think we are working diligently to raise that profile. And hey, let's be honest, right? The most recent study that I just read shows that nurses are consulted less than 2% of the time on issues related to healthcare across Canada nationally. We have physicians commenting on nursing staffing in ICUs in Ontario related to the pandemic. So I think that there is definitely work to be done to ensure that the nursing voice is more front and center, but we continue to work collaboratively with our partners to move that work forward. And I think in particular, if you're asking about the NP file, the NP Council has worked very diligently to foster some really good relationships with their partners across the aisle and ministry. So I see this file increasing, our scope increasing, and our level of influence increasing as we move forward as an organization.
Thank you, Michael. I'll read out the next question. This is from Marg Ducharme. In lieu of all the discoveries of the missing children found at residential schools, what is the Nnpbc moving forward for cultural safety?
I think that one falls to me again. Thank you for the question, Mark. Just so that you are aware, the board and councils are doing their governance work around our position statements, etc. And then we're doing the operations work to ensure that we have meaningful engagement in that file. So we've reached out to the Office of Indigenous Health, which is a part of the Ministry of Health. We are in active conversations with the staff team there around ways that we can start to engage in a more meaningful fashion, support and education, for example, for nurses across the province around culturally safe care. We're looking to partner with them to provide an education series. We're looking to partner with them to increase our staff profile around these particular files. So this work is ongoing, and I know that there is a push to try and do this work quickly, but I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that the Indigenous individuals within our organization need to help lead this from their perspective, and of course operations will respond to that. And so I think we're working as quickly as we can to show actionable responses without kind of running roughshod over the process. So it's a bit of work, and we have committed to doing the work, and we will commit to being as transparent as possible as we move forward with the work. So thank you for the question.
And then also from a board and council perspective, we are looking at, what resources do our board and council have access to around cultural safety and education and resources, and how can we support new council members and new board members to engage in more education. The next question, VCNM has introduced cultural safety and humility standards for entry-level RNs. How is Nnpbc going to move forward with in plain sight recommendations, as well as BCCNM is actioning cultural safety and humility standards for all nurses?
So I think that falls to me again. So Leona, as in relation to the question from Marg, we're working closely with the Ministry of Health, the Office of Indigenous Health, obviously the college, and we are looking to make sure that there are education offerings, but also, tangible resources available for nurses to move some of these recommendations forward. Again, without trying to sound trite, I think that this is a process that requires a methodical approach to ensure that we get it right. So we will move as quickly as we can on providing, for example, the education resources. But we are working closely with BCCNM to ensure that we're not doing something over here while they're doing something similar over here that are at cross purposes with each other. And as you can imagine, in a virtual environment, sometimes it's difficult to ensure that we don't get our wires crossed, but we will work as quickly and as diligently as we can to ensure that we achieve those outcomes.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Leona. Another one in the chat. Just going to go to the chat now. Pardon me. So this question, I am asking, due to the opioid campaign that you just spoke about, I'm interested in plant-based diets for population health and environmental benefits. Is there anyone at Nnpbc I can speak with about a campaign promoting plant-based diets similar to the smoking cessation public health campaigns? And pardon me. Sorry, my computer's not scrolling as well as I'd like it to.
I'll jump in there.
And that was
share.
from Stacy Lynn Nielsen. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say, Stacy, we'll connect with you after the meeting to provide some resources to have a discussion about how we can support this question moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions? I'm moving between the two. I am not seeing any further questions. Well, thank you for those. Okay. Kevin Bai has a question. Kevin Bay. Oh, there we are. Sorry. Kevin Bay. How is Nnpbc enacting the anti-racism statement? And what is the work being done within the organization to combat racism and support diversity and equity?
Sherry, I'll jump in on that one again. Yep. Yeah. Calvin, thank you for the question. As noted previously around the work with the Indigenous piece, this work obviously needs to be done. We are working diligently to move through it. We are looking at tangible pieces from not only a staffing perspective, but from a program and core service delivery perspective. And we are also working internally with human resources. And we have been looking to engage some external consultants around ways that we can improve our response to the equity piece within the organization. So I appreciate the question and recognizing that this work is ongoing, but it is a priority for us from not only a governance perspective, but from an operations perspective as well.
Thank you, Michael. I have a question from Kat Martin. I'm wondering if there are any plans for practice standards to be developed for foot care nurses. This is a growing business opportunity for nurses and would benefit from a certified type practice set of skills or decision support tools related to the use of sharps in continuing education.
Kat, that's a great question. You know, I will, the short answer to that is yes, we have some resources available. I think the best way to address that is to connect afterwards, and I'll connect you with the LPN Council. Both Jag and Teresa, as well as the council, have done some significant work around this area, and I am sure that they would be pleased to connect with you to have a conversation about some of the supports that are in place and available.
And Teresa McFadgen's also pointing to the Canadian Foot Care Nurses as a resource for members. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm seeing no further questions.
There's another question in the Q&A.
Was the recent move of the DSTs from BCC Agm to Nnpbc? With that recent move, how are the DSTs updated and maintained?
Thank you, Leona.
Go forward there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leona, I think ultimately that is a operations question that's probably best left for a conversation outside of the AGM. I would be happy to connect with you one-on-one to provide you a framework of how we're moving forward in a collaborative manner to ensure that the requirements related, the legal requirements related to DSTs are being met and exceeded. So, you know, let's connect in the next few days, and we can have a conversation about that.
Okay. And Michael, maybe what we'll do is make a bit of space for that in our council meeting. That'd be great. Okay. Thank you. I'd be interested too. Thank you, Kat. Okay. Great. I'm seeing no further questions. Bouncing between the two. Wait another moment. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. That was a lot of really great questions, and there's a lot of work, obviously, that we'll be doing on each of these issues. So thank you for those questions. And I just want to say my thanks to everyone that we've been working with over the past year. It's been my privilege to be part of this organization, and I just really want to thank the board of directors, the councils, the executive director, and each of our staff members as we continue to work and build the foundations for Nnpbc since its establishment in 2018. So we're still a fairly young organization, but we've certainly accomplished a lot in a very short period of time. When we established ourselves, our goal was to ensure that we provided a cohesive and strong nursing voice on matters of social and public policy. And I'm proud to say our work throughout 2020 has supported this vision. Along with routine board and council meetings, we also hosted meetings on COVID and relevant topics related to issues that have been surfaced in the profession. These meetings have helped identify key topics to address. It has truly been a privilege to serve as chair, and I look forward to continuing our work in 2021. There being no further business to come before this assembly, and without objection, I'll declare this annual general meeting to be terminated. And I thank each of you for attending today.